Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. This is episode 166. Joined with Nick Wynn on the call. Taking a break from sports. Diving back in. No, it's been a minute. To Marvel MCU episode right here. Breaking down our reactions from Captain America Brave New World. And kind of where this could lead and what they're doing. Because this movie kind of sparked a lot of the discourse around this movie. Kind of sparked us to kind of do another episode with this. Because the expectations, I can go back to like last Wednesday before I saw it on Thursday, was, you know how the reactions came out. Wasn't good, said all this bad stuff. So I went in adjusting my expectations, not really taking what they're saying because I always like to see it with my own eyes, but kind of looking out for certain things to see if they're right or wrong or whatever. But I was sitting in this movie waiting for it to spiral downhill.
Right.
And I don't think it did.
Literally same here. I was just waiting I was like, okay, like everyone is saying this shit is bad. So like I'm just waiting for things to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it just never really happened. Like, of course there were some bad things. Like,
right.
Definitely not perfect. I'll say now I gave it a score of 7.2 out of 10. Or I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd.
I gave it a 7.8 for my official grade. I started out at a 7, and then in our group chat I was like, on my way home, I was no, that was an 8. This is an 8. This is 7.8. 7.8. Like, I'm gonna put it in 8 because we're obviously looking to kind of nitpick at some parts here. But after days removed from it, kind of looking at some stuff back again, because I haven't seen it again. I probably will eventually. But
yeah, me too.
I'm gonna give it a 7.8. 7.8 for me.
I don't think I'll enjoy it the second time around as much, but I think I'll be looking at more of the flaws. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I think with it being a budget of 188 million, I think it's going to come out to be a major success. Because I think, again, with the discourse behind it, I think a lot of people are going to end up seeing it.
The audience score is way higher than the critic score now. Like
the critic score is like lower than Eternals. And
it's like, crazy.
Which hey, you and me, we're both Eternals defenders over here. All right. So this movie honestly might be worse than Eternals. But like movie critic wise, it should not be that low with how people see the MCU. It just shouldn't be that low. It was on Secret Invasion levels, and that shouldn't have ever been made.
And for people that like take critic scores like very seriously before they go see a movie, take more attention to the audience score because critics are legit designed to go in and try to find the bad in these movies.
Yeah.
This is in the world of media, it is so much easier and more popular and more trendy to talk bad about something than it is to talk about the good. We see this in sports as well. So like, I just think that's where a lot of the discourse around it was like, I got worried. I was like, is this like Morbius levels? Like, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way it is. Nope. Even from just the trailers alone, I can tell it wasn't going to be a horrific movie.
Yeah.
There was always high hopes and stuff that I knew I was going to be interested in.
Yeah. It's really my vibe, like a political thriller, you know? I don't know. I did have a few problems with it for sure, and we can, I guess, start diving into those.
Do you want to start out with the good or the bad?
I don't care, honestly.
Let's start out with the good.
All right, you go ahead.
I have a couple things here, for sure. For all the reshoots and everything that came in that we are now seeing, like shout out New Rockstars for really like breaking stuff down to like step by step to show the process of what actually happened throughout the process of this movie. For all the reshoots, I felt like the movie flowed really, really well. I was skeptical about the runtime, which I'll get into later, but I felt like with all the reshoots and stuff that happened,
what even was the runtime?
Like an hour 58, I want to say, a little bit under 2. So with all that, I thought the movie really flowed together really, really well. You could obviously see and feel kind of the reshoot moments throughout the film in certain parts, but with all the stuff that they had to overcome to get this movie out, I think it flowed together really, really well.
Yeah, I can definitely, like, there are times where I disagree, and I will get into those, but I agree in most ways. Like, I think, again, dude, like this is like the most they probably had to go through in making a movie in such a long time.
Changing names, dropping characters, having to change entire characters' backstories in this film.
Change plot lines, 3 weeks of reshoots. Like they had to go through a lot. and I still think they made a really good movie out of it. A good movie, a quality movie out of it. Which
Yeah.
obviously it's very hard to make a movie. So overall, yeah.
Another positive I had was Sam Wilson, Joaquin Torres. I felt like that was that dynamic and the Isaiah Bradley element over that from those who's watched fucking Winter Soldier. Like that chemistry between those three was, I think, the best thing in the movie. You could tell there was time put into that writing, because it just seemed like New Captain America and New Falcon. That just seemed so easy. It seemed so effortless. It seemed like they were actually like, this is like real life for them. That's what it kind of felt like.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like that dynamic between those three. I wish we got more of it. Like I wish they would have like delved deeper, or not even deeper, just like gave us more time with Isaiah Bradley, or at least like going through that. It felt like we got. Obviously, we had the leader and Red Hulk to get into, so we couldn't really focus that much on Isaiah Bradley. But I wish we had more time.
And he's in Falcon Winter Soldier too, so you kind of see his entire.
We've had a little bit of his story already, so I get it. But I don't know. I just really like their dynamic and what those three did. Those are the three MVPs of the movie.
Another thing I had was, and we kind of talked about it briefly, like in the group chat, but for me, in this kind of entire phase of Marvel, I feel like this is the first movie where I feel everything has really connected. I think the only other thing that I've watched that makes everything kind of feel connected is kind of Hawkeye in a way, because you see like Kingpin enter, and then you kind of have like Daredevil elements following that as well. But it's just like, has on the movie level, this is the only thing that I felt like you see the repercussions of other projects come through in this movie, even though it was Hulk from way back when. But you see the Eternals and Celestial Island, see that finally get discussed, because that's been going on for years now, and we already kind of knew we weren't getting Eternals 2, so we were like, are they just going to act like this isn't a thing? Because they didn't even talk about it on any Earthbound project for the most part, and now you see it.
They put it in like a little news clipping.
Yeah. They never talked about it at all.
Something emerging from Indian Ocean. Bro,
yeah. But like, for multiversal concept throughout multiple movies, I want to see the events of something like Brave New World have impact, and you see and hear about it in Thunderbolts. I want to see something that happened in Eternals that is an Earth-based project have some sort of impact when it came off of a cliffhanger to have an impact later down the line in the future. So I just feel like this has made it more connected. I feel like we're actually starting to see the pieces be put together. Mind you, I feel like it's a little late, but I think they're kind of starting to put the pieces together, at least on the Earth side of things, because we obviously only have Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and then Avengers Doomsday, and that's it.
Yeah.
For this kind of phase, and then we're going to get into Secret Wars and everything else. So I'm interested to see like how they continue to grow upon this, because this is really the first like big time like Earthbound movie we've gotten in I feel like some time. Like, you had Multiverse of Madness, then you had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then it kind of just shuffled. You have the Marvels, which isn't really Earthbound at that point. Like, I was glad to see them go back to the roots, in my opinion, and I feel like it's all getting connected more so.
I was too. I'm a little nervous because what we were just saying. Oh, you're just saying like we're going to be on Avengers Doomsday quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and it's just, to me, just feels like we just haven't set up enough.
Now,
exactly. I mean, it's fine, if we just get there and they're just like, hey, it's 5 years later, we're just here. All right, the pieces are in place, you just didn't see it. I'll be like, whatever. But that's usually not how they do things, and I'm just a little like worried. Just like, hey, what's going on here?
This phase is missing. It's Avengers: Age of Ultron. Mm-hmm. It's missing that one movie that can connect the bridge to get to that big level, like Infinity War, or even like Civil War in a way.
And maybe I'm asking for too much. I wish this could we have not made Red Hulk a little bit like of a bigger project, and like made that like a low key, like not even, you don't even gotta call it Avengers, just you could low key keep it Cap 4. We had Cap 3 be Civil War. It was basically, Avengers 2.5. So why can't we have a little Cap 4 be a little Avengers 3.4.5?
That's the only thing I think they're missing, because you have the characters. It's just they're so, and the multiverse aspect of it is like they're just so not connected right now. Like, you have no idea what's going on with Shang-Chi. You have no idea what's going on with Doctor Strange. The Fantastic Four have not even had their movie yet. The Thunderbolts hasn't had their movie yet, and that's a ragtag bunch of characters anyways. There really is no Guardians, even though they left the door open for that with the different group of Guardians.
I doubt they're going to be a big part of it.
And now you have Peter Quill, who is on Earth, who we talked about before the pod. Like, how could he tie in? Yeah, haven't seen him, and they said he was going to come back, and like we have no idea what's going on with. And obviously, it's such a different situation because you don't have Chadwick Boseman a part of that franchise anymore. To where like Black Panther, how are they going to tie in and everything else like that? So it's just so interesting. But I feel like this movie has really done a good job of like, okay, I can see them putting pieces together. Things are starting to kind of make a little bit more sense going forward.
Yeah.
Going into, I think Harrison Ford did a really good job.
Yeah, me too. That was what I was going to say that as well. I think he put his all on.
He added. This movie. I hate to say it like this, but I don't really have another way to say it. He added just a bit more of that like aura to the cast, because I feel like nobody in this film has been like the major star or the major person you're going to see. I feel like obviously his circumstances are different of how he got into the movie in general, but I do think Harrison Ford, as iconic as he is as an actor, I feel like added that different element.
Yeah, I think the cast. I think he's a great addition. He's a great addition. I honestly didn't think he would be that good at it, but yeah, he was great as the Hulk. He went all out when he had to change into the Hulk, man, and I had to give it to him, man. It's like there are some problems I have with the whole Harrison Ford story and like with the leader and shit. But, like, none of that is his fault. He just come in there to do the lines. So like, hey,
I also have stuff about that in the bad as well.
Yeah. But like, I again, like, shout out to like all the actors. I think everybody, like, there wasn't anybody that I didn't like except for that Black Widow girl. But like, that was more like they took her. We were going to talk about this more, but they took her out of the movie a bunch, and so her role was really weird. She didn't really have much space to do anything.
And then this might be a hot take. I don't know how hot of a take it is. That I'll never forgive them for what they did to the Hulk and Bruce Banner throughout this entire process of the MCU. I think they went on a completely wrong trajectory with that. I think Bruce Banner and Mark Ruffalo deserved a solo Hulk movie again at some point. I thought they could have easily did one post Avengers Age of Ultron if they wanted to. That could lead into Ragnarok. That's just me theorizing, but like the Red Hulk design, best Hulk we've seen in the MCU, and it's not close. It was the perfect dynamic.
They keep adding on to the technology that they have, which it's great. It's great. It looked awesome.
It's crazy. That was the Hulk, like the version of the Hulk we wanted to see in Infinity War. Like that mindset of the Hulk, and obviously Red Hulk, regular Hulk, completely different characters.
Right.
But like, I just love the like once you like see it on the big screen, you're like, oh shit, like this is working. Like this is fire. I messed with that. And I just feel like they found the perfect balance to like, you still have Harrison Ford elements, but it's the Hulk. And he's pissed.
Yep.
And I feel like they kind of got away from that. I don't know what they do. I've never really heard anybody kind of talk about it from that side, but like, was Hulk just that powerful of a character to where you kind of had to nerf him or something like that? Because they just went the whole different direction with the Hulk, and I feel like this is kind of like all right, here we go. Now, like we're eating with this one.
I can see they more focus on being, I think, just being Mark Ruffalo.
Yes,
they wanted to Mark Ruffalo the character. They wanted it to be more him, and I get it. So like, yeah, I completely agree. Now they're just like, hey, we have the technology to make this look really good and sound really good. Like, let's do a Hulk right. Which, like, again, like, who have a World War Hulk or something at some point.
And then the last, like, kind of not even like good thing, but thing that I saw, and then I was like, didn't really like see eye to eye with that in the movie. I saw a lot of people saying some of the fight scenes were a little bit clunky. I was like, okay.
I was about to say the same thing.
Like, the only one you could say is clunky is the one at the start of the movie that opens everything out. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, you have to remember, a big part of this Sam Wilson Captain America story is he doesn't have the serum.
About the one with like that soldier at the very beginning who was shit talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the only one I think you could say is clunky. Everything else was fire.
I didn't think so. I loved it. I thought it was a little rough open. I don't know. I
Yes,
liked it.
but you have to understand this isn't. I understand you want to compare it to Winter Soldier. I get it. In the fight sequences in Winter Soldier, you have to understand. Obviously, that movie is directed by different people. You have to understand. Captain America, Bucky Barnes have the super soldier serum, so they can do out of pocket crazy shit in combat. Sam Wilson's whole stick is he's a regular guy. In the way they adapted his like kind of repertoire in a way of his fighting style, and you get to see more creative ways because he can fly, he can have the shield, he can has the vibranium now. Like I feel like there's different angles and ways to where I feel like yeah, you could have said that maybe I don't think it was. Even the first one flight was clunky, but I was like he has a whole different fighting style. Stop comparing Sam Wilson to Captain America like Steve Rogers. Don't do that because
Yeah,
they're two completely different characters.
yeah.
I
I love what they're doing with their fighting style. Um, with his fighting style, like his whole fight on the helicarriers, so fire, so fire. Um, I have a little bit of problem with like how they're doing the fact that he's not a super soldier because he got stabbed like 6 times throughout the fucking movie,
mm-hmm.
and he's just not worried about it at all.
Right.
That for me, that's I was like, what the hell? Because like I feel like even a super soldier would be worried about getting stabbed 6 times. So that didn't really work for me. Like there, and like he has like this whole like he has so many weapons now, and like everything's so gearified. And I thought it was so sick how simple, like how simple he was, and he is just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and the whole like his whole like Captain America office that he has now, it's like a little weird to me. Like I don't know, I thought it was a little weird, but like
the only reason I'm fine with it is because it was the Hulk that he was fighting.
right.
So you had to kind of.
I
He
get
already
it. Yeah,
doesn't
no,
have
yeah,
the
he doesn't
serum.
have anything. Like he's fucked. He's fucked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
No,
the
I
vibranium
completely
suit.
I
Thought
completely.
I get what you're saying. I also thought it kind of came together because I'm like, he's not just fighting like
You got to.
Zemo.
Yeah. No. You
Like
got to, bro. If
yes.
he doesn't have this stuff, you can't just say he does. He wins.
Mm-hmm. But I felt like the action was the
No, the
Celestial
actual
Island scene was just fire. Was just fire. In my opinion, one of the best like action scenes that we've seen in probably this phase of the MCU. In my opinion,
right.
like post Endgame, everything else. I feel like that is gonna go in as like
They were working with that guy who worked on Top Gun Maverick, right? I think.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't say a name or what he was exactly, but somebody who was on Top Gun Maverick. They worked on this movie.
I think that could go down, depending on what we get from Daredevil. I think that could go down as one of the best like action scenes like we've seen out of this phase. Depending on what we get out of Thunderbolts and
Hey, we might
Fantastic
get some
Four,
crazy shit out of Daredevil. That might get passed up real quick.
so we'll see. But in terms of like the stakes and how they made it look on the water, I
Right.
think that was all great and
Yep.
fire. But that's all I really had for the good. If you wanted to add on anything else,
No, you said like most of the things. Like I just want like Anthony Mackie. I thought he did amazing. That's it.
I think he really stepped into this role.
Yeah.
Because it's so tough to take on, especially in the situation he's in, to where like Chris Evans is just he is Captain America, and now you're like pivoting in a different.
It's like that is crazy. Like if you,
it's
just
like
take a
somebody
step
trying
back
to
and look
replace
at it.
Iron Man.
Yeah,
and RDJ.
Like it's just insane. It's crazy, and like Andy's a black guy. Like and like he said one simple thing about like how Captain America doesn't stand for like America or whatever, which Steve said basically that in a different line in like Winter Soldier or something, and like everyone freaks the fuck out. Everyone freaks the fuck out and hates him, and like oh my god, bro. And he's like he's the one taking. He's the one going out for all these interviews. Like he's the one putting his face on this, and he killed it.
I think he did,
and I don't think he's going to get enough love for it.
No,
I don't think he's going to.
I'm interested to see where they go going forward with this, but we can dive in to some of the bad. I only have because I know kind of some of the stuff. I've kind of the bad stuff I have is kind of more overarching. Like I think the movie's too short. Like kind of tapping into.
You could easily get another 20, 30 out of that.
Yeah, in my opinion, with the point in the MCU where they are at now, and I know this movie went through a lot of reshoots and everything else, but like, I think you got to be at 2.5. with all the stuff that you have to explain with the multiverse and how confusing it can be to casual audiences,
Like, especially if you're using a movie from like you're doing basically a sequel to a movie from 17 years ago.
and then you're kind of like adding on Eternals Part 2
Eternals Part
quickly.
2, Cap 4, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier 2.
I just
a lot
think,
of things.
especially because I kind of had the same gripe with Multiverse of Madness, because there was a lot of things in that movie that kind of just didn't get enough time. Like, I felt like they could have went more in depth. Now, I know it's easier said than done, but I feel like if you're an MCU project, like if I'm looking at Thunderbolts, I don't know if they released the runtime or not, and Fantastic Four, I expect Fantastic Four to be 2.5 bare men, because you're groundbreaking with a whole new thing. I would hate to see a 2-hour movie where a lot of things didn't get answered, a lot of things didn't seem flushed out. And I feel like that's kind of what happened in this movie. I would have loved to see, like, how did President Ross go from where he was in Civil War to being the president? Maybe I would have liked to see a campaign.
They showed me one interview. They showed me the thing where he was freaking out behind the desk. And that's all we needed, I guess.
I would have liked to see his rise in the political ladder to get to that point. I thought that would have been really interesting. I know they just cut out.
Show me the leader, what's going on with the leader.
Yes. Show me more of leader backstory rather than just saying, oh, you're supposed to know that because you are an MCU fan.
Like, here's the thing. They gave us all this exposition. We hear, like, President Ross say, like, the same line 4 times about the treaty. We hear him ask in his worst line delivery of the movie, "Where's my daughter, Betty?" Like, it's just terrible exposition. With the news, where they're saying, like, everything about him that just we need to know, that the general audience of watching the news wouldn't give a shit about. Mm-hmm. Bruce Banner's ex-girlfriend. Like, why are we explaining his, like, Betty Ross on the news as Bruce Banner's ex-girlfriend? That just wouldn't happen.
Right.
Just awful. Like, they give us all that exposition, and we still don't, like, know anything.
Right. I feel like it's just bare bones.
It's just bare bones stuff. Just to, like, it's almost like, hey, do you remember that movie? Not like telling you anything that's going on. It's just, hey, just letting you know this is a shout out to this movie that you had to watch 17 years ago to know what's going on.
Adamantium, I feel like could have used a little bit more time.
100%.
I feel like you could have went into that more so, rather than, obviously we know Adamantium ties to X-Men and World and everything else like that, but like, why exactly are these people fighting for? Why exactly is there going to be a war over this stuff?
They just gave us one line, just Adamantium.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, it was cool hearing Harrison Ford say Adamantium. Not gonna lie,
yeah,
that was pretty sick. But give me a little more before Isaiah Bradley starts shooting.
Yeah, I just think there are certain times in this movie where I wish they were just went a little bit a step further. They had a lot of reshoots, so I can only say so much about it. But I just feel like in the MCU as a whole, I just feel like the movies are at a point where I'm like, if it's not 2.5 and I'm seeing flushed out material, that's where the movies, I think, go for me, rather than I'm seeing like bad CGI or something like that, which can come into a fold. But like, if I'm seeing like shit just not get fleshed out, that's what will rub me the wrong way.
Here's the thing. This movie has 3 villains, and they all needed 20 more minutes.
Yes.
Sidewinder needed 20 more minutes. The leader needed 20 more minutes. And the Red Hulk needed 20 more minutes. So, I don't know. Yeah, they needed something. Like, I thought they could have done so much. Like, and actually, I really liked the whole Sidewinder stuff. I just thought, like, why do the full, like, the first 40 minutes all about this just for him to be done? Like, now he's caught, and that's it. Like,
and tapping into that scene where I've been waiting for kind of a scene like this, and we like only really saw, like, the last time I can really think of like seeing something like out of nowhere was when Nick Fury got ambushed in Winter Soldier.
Right.
That's what it felt like. He turned the corner in the truck, and then like shit just took off.
Yes.
And I'm just like, man, this is tough. And it showed, like, it gave like the good dynamic of like, oh, what is Sam Wilson without all of his gear? Kind of gives you that little bit of Tad fight in that single moment. But that's something that they could have went on with more. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does return, because he is such a great actor.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think they could use him as like a Crossbones or whatever it was, the guy who was part of Hydra. And then he was at the beginning of Civil War.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Crossbones. I can't remember his real name. But yeah, he just kept coming back a little bit just to be like a, you know, a villain every once in a while. But like, yeah, I think he definitely could be something that they just comes back for, whether he's a villain in a full movie or he just keeps being a menace.
Yeah,
Going after
because
Cap.
I really liked what they did with him. But like you said, every villain in this movie, and there were 3 of them, needed more time.
Yeah,
needed about 20 more minutes. I think Harrison Ford. I think you got the perfect amount of Red Hulk. I needed more of the dynamic between like how he turns into it,
right.
like what he's actually going through.
The build up. God, oh God, hated it.
The build up was just so weird.
I not hated, like again, while I'm in the movie, I really like this movie. It's just when I sit back and I watch all these new rock stars, you know, I form my opinion like after the movie, and I sit here and I'm like, I don't like how they did the whole leader and Ross, the build up to him being Hulk, and this comes into another point, the whole trailers, like that, like my main problem is that they built the movie as if we don't know that he's going to turn into Red Hulk, but you released Red Hulk in every single trailer. So like that.
Could you imagine the twist if they never showed it in a trailer?
Insane. And like I get they had to sell tickets, but guess what?
Right.
People will tell their friends.
Yes.
And then the second weekend will be good, and you'll sell more tickets. Like
I damn near want to say that would have been the biggest / best twist in a movie that didn't get in the trailer.
That scene where like the scene at the podium would hit so fucking hard. If when I see him bring his hand up and it starts changing to red, I'd be like, what? Or like him hitting that granite table and it slams, I'd be like, what the fuck? What's going on with President Ross?
Right.
What's going on?
That would have been a huge I'm like, okay, spoiler thing.
I see him hit the granite table, and I'm like, okay, in about 25 minutes, he's gonna turn into Red Hulk in front of the White House while he's giving a speech. Blah 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 blah.
There's just too much shown in the trailer. Way too much shown in the trailer.
I can't stand it.
See, trailers are I can make a whole video on trailers and how they give too much of the movie.
And the trailers are really good, like they're fire, and I'm sitting like, damn, I'm hyped for this movie. But stop, I don't need to be this hype. Like you can just not show me it.
Like the Thunderbolts, and I don't know if it came out as the final trailer. I doubt it is.
No, it's not. Definitely not. It comes out in May. They'll release another one.
Yeah, that should be it. I don't want to see anything else.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to see anything else of the movie. You gave me everything I want to see.
They're going to show us the Void, and I don't want to see him. I don't want to see his face.
So I just think the trailers. Obviously, you had to sell tickets, had to put butts in seats, but it's so tough because that twist would have saved the movie in terms of other people's opinions on it. If that twist was just so natural and it naturally happened throughout the movie to where you're like...
People would have loved it.
I think people would have loved it. But I cannot lie.
Well, go ahead.
They got some fire shit out of it. Like when I don't know when it was. I think it was in the summer, end of summer, when he got the shot of him throwing the shield into the ground.
Throwing it down. It was fire.
That was fire. And then the poster they had for him crushing the shield with his hand. Those were fire. Those were fire.
Yeah, I can't lie. Honestly, I'd be fine with that. And I would have been fine with that. Like maybe like you don't show me the blossom tree in the back.
White
I don't know
House,
if they could have edited it. If you could have edited it in some way to where I only see them just him catching the shield and throwing it down. Would have been.
You kind of just knew where the movie was going.
I'm like, oh shit, okay, Red Bull, that's kind of fire. But like, again, like the whole movie is like set up to where you're not supposed to know.
Right.
But I know.
I feel like you knew at the end.
Here, it knows. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That did not work for me.
I knew
as much.
It still hit though.
Yes. Of course.
It still ended up hitting though.
It did definitely hit. But I think they could have done better there.
God. So we already got another thing I had was the leader not being fleshed out enough. I feel like you could have went into a little bit more motive based there. There's just certain things where I think
so much better. I think he could have been like an A villain. Mm-hmm. But like just didn't you guys just didn't want to focus on him like at all. I have
this kind of like idea I kind of put together, which could have been different, but I hated it a little bit because it would have been a fourth villain, slightly in this, because you tap in from a lot of elements of Falcon Winter Soldier, what if a big motive was not just the leader, but the leader working with somebody like Agent Carter, who is the power broker from Falcon
Right.
Winter Soldier? But I was like, that's just doing a little bit too much. That means like you're like already have the Isaiah Bradley element on Falcon Winter Soldier. Now you have basically a villain of the movie also. So you have to watch Falcon Winter Soldier. So I don't know. And at the end, it's been so long since I watched Falcon Winter Soldier, but at the end, she takes the phone call and they don't even know she was the power broker at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that could have been an interesting twist to add her into the story, which she has a lot to do with because she was a big part of Falcon Winter Soldier. They just didn't really know about it. So like, I was like, if you wanted to make the leader make a little bit more sense to like the political side of things, you could have went that route. Just trying to add somebody that could have been in it, that could have made it better, other than just flushing him out and obviously giving him more time. But just maybe him working with somebody else that has a different angle, that has a different motive, that's trying to get back at somebody that has a case to get back at him as well. I felt like it could have worked a little bit.
Yeah, like I would say like no, like here's the thing. I would say no, he can't work with anybody because he's in prison. But he was able to do like everything he already did from prison. So
I would have liked to see. God, now my mind's just going crazy. I was like, what if, like, because they were talking about how the leader was basically coming up with all the ideas of getting him ahead, and I really wanted to see his political rise and how he got to the place he was. What if, like, when you meet the leader, he talks you through and you go on flashbacks of how he got there? Like, what if, like, this was going so far back to where, like, they could tie into, like, the leader was the main person that made the Sokovia Accords or something crazy like that.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Like, what if you could go in so deep to where, like, he was the person behind that and behind all the stuff that Thaddeus Ross was doing? I was like, man, what if you went deeper with that? Like, could you imagine sitting in the theater and being like, yeah, I was the one who made the Soviet Accords?
Dude, like that and the pills. Like, I think we could have like they could have like made the pills more of like a mystery. Like they showed like the first thing we see of President Ross is him taking the pill in the movie. Like I think we could have delved deeper into that. Like the fact like that they said that he'd been keeping him there for like 15 years or whatever, and like it was nothing. Like no one even really gave a fuck.
Right.
Like we could have like give me some of that. Either tell me what was going on or like I don't know, man.
I just felt like his character could have just went through a little bit more. I think if you would have just tied in some like, this is what I did for him, and it would have went through something big like the Sokovia Accords, where like he was in the background messing with everything. He was the one who originated that.
Yeah.
Or he's the one who originated this to get him over into the political ladder or something crazy like that. Something to where it like made a little bit more sense for how much work he was doing.
Yeah. Because now it's like, okay, like you don't even get to see any of it. It's just, he got him to be president somehow.
And he basically only had it because of the whole heart problems and health problems and stuff like that, to where like he was sneaking in the gamma to create him into the Hulk.
Yeah.
Which was a good angle, creating him into something that he was fighting in the original Hulk movie. But like, I just felt like if you would have gave us a little bit more of what he was actually doing and how he got to that point, I think it would have been better.
It could have been so much better.
But I mean, the Carter stuff was kind of just a theory I came up with, but I really think if they would have tied him into something big like the Sokovia Accords, like, I think it would have been.
Yeah, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said I thought she'd be in this movie.
Yeah, so, I would too.
But just so much shit came out. It's like once you realize that the Red Hulk's in then it just feels again, like we said, this movie's just so populated and there's just so much happening that like no way you can fit a fourth film in there.
Because I feel like I could already see somebody who watched her as a character in all the Captain America movies, and then all of a sudden you watch this movie not watching Falcon Winter Soldier, be like, what's going on? Right? Yep. So I just see that disconnect in why they wouldn't put it in. I can see a reason for it not being put in. But I think she is a good character to where like, damn, you didn't even get a post-cred? Like, damn, it could have been
even like a character anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, are you just a write-off? Like, it would have been so like, God, like I just thought of this idea. I'm like, man, it's crazy now. There's a hole. Who's the president in the MCU? We don't know who the vice president is. What if she was the vice president or whatever? And you see a clip of like her, like, you know, I'm reaching. But I think it would have been fire if you would have had a post-credit of like showing the vice president being somebody like connected in it. Not her, but like somebody who was in you or something.
The fucking the girl who's in Thunderbolts would have been sick. The bitch who's behind everything.
That's gonna be interesting because Kingpin, I feel like, is gonna be very involved in getting the presidency.
Oh, really?
Who's the vice president? We didn't answer that question. He's gonna have a part to play.
Hey, you ain't even watched Daredevil, bro.
But listen.
Born Again. Oh my god, I'm so ready for whatever they do with Kingpin.
We need answered questions. Because I love Kingpin as a character.
Bro, low key, this girl from Thunderbolts, there has like that white strip in her hair. And there's like shit going out. Apparently, like she's trying to get in, and like apparently they're gonna like be together.
Yeah,
power couple for real.
Yeah. Trust, I think I saw that same video. That's kind of fire.
His first lady, I'm like, damn, bro. If they do that, like that would be sick.
Yeah, but that's just us kind of theorizing on what they could have done.
Random shit.
But the only thing that I'm gonna touch on in the bad is, I guess the only other thing is, I think the MCU has a problem. I've had this problem since No Way Home. So I've had this problem for a while. And I hate to say it, but I think we're going down that same exact road in Thunderbolts. We are in the talking the villain down, villain last minute change of heart era. Where are the villains? Where are my Ultrons who are just want to just see shit get absolutely destroyed? Like, I'm tired of, I have a list of the movies that have been in the past of this phase where the villain has changed their heart or just been talked down. And we saw it happen. Same thing with the Hulk. If you know anything about Sentry and how there's split personalities in there and everything else like that, you could see a world where they go down that same route because he's such a powerful character. That's the only angle they have. So, happened in this movie.
I'm holding him down.
Right.
No, kill me.
Right. So, looking at that, here are the movies where that kind of happened. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness with Wanda, where all of a sudden had a change of heart. Valid, right? Thor Love and Thunder had Gore the God Butcher on business all movie. Has a change of heart once he gets to eternity.
Gets to his end goal.
Yes, gets to the end goal, changes his heart. Spider-Man No Way Home. Green Goblin. How is Green Goblin the only villain that knows if he goes back, he's going to die? Only villain on pure smoke. Doc Ock changing and being a good guy, hated that.
Really?
Hated that.
That's the only one I liked.
Cool, you did that to get a cool moment with Tobey Maguire and Doc Ock going back to Spider-Man 2. I wanted to see somebody else other than Green Goblin on absolute smoke.
Damn.
I wanted to see more. I wanted to see darker shit.
Like Electro and whatever his face was, Sandman. I wanted those two to be on smoke, but I was cool with the Doc Ock one. That was that hit home for me. I was like, damn.
Because man. So you have No Way Home, which that was my problem with. I hated how everybody basically became an anti-hero, but Green Goblin.
You've been talking about that for 4 years now.
So that was the only gripe I had with that movie. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I wanted Shuri to be on Strictly Business. She ended up having a change of heart. Now her and Namor, like, it's just good whole happy ending, right?
Right. You got a whole country.
Where is God, I'm blanking on his name because I didn't put it in my notes.
What movie?
High Revolutionary. I need that. I'm tired of all this talking these people down. I need the villains. I need the hardcore villains back. The stakes haven't been hitting because every villain in these movies is some sort of anti-hero. Like how Wanda was. They're just going to end up getting talked down.
We got to make everybody good somehow. We got to
Somehow we got to put a good bow on this and move on. The High Revolutionary, that Guardians 3 movie, the stakes were raised because of the villain that was at stake.
Like, bro,
that's my problem.
Was not giving up.
Yes.
Bro.
And that's where I'm at kind of in the MCU. I'm like, every time we're seeing this now, it's just kind of like, oh, and I hate to have this mindset going into Thunderbolts because it's still months away. It's just like, I can already see a world
like Deadpool,
where he just gets talked down.
She wanted all the smoke. but she just kind of sucked as a villain. Like, she just kind of sucked as a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in all the bigger projects, I've kind of seen that same ending to where I'm just like, they're kind of missing like that one staple villain from this phase where you're just like, man, and it's really the Higher Evolutionary is the only one from this phase where I can really say it's just like, man, that motherfucker was on pure smoke. Like, they didn't make him into an anti-hero. He was bad through and through. But now I can already see a world because of how Sentry is as a character. How is that going to end? How are they going to beat him? I'd be fine if they didn't beat him, right? And there was a world where, like, they got the moral victory, but at the grand scale of things, they didn't beat him.
Yeah.
And then you going into the Avengers Doomsday, maybe you touch on it then. Like, it depends on what they want to do with Thunderbolts, but I just hope that they can. And I have no doubt we're going to get it in Avengers Doomsday, but it's just like, there's some of these movies in the phase to where I'm like, every villain needs to have this happy ending. I can go back to Shang-Chi as well. Like, it's just so interesting of how they go on with these villain choices, where I feel like it could go down this road like it did in this movie where you talk. It's a different situation because it's the fucking Hulk. And it's so different in this movie to where, like, the only way to stop him is to talk him down.
Or, like, bring in someone who can kill him.
Yes. And there was a big part of, I think they talked about it in a New Rockstar video, just referencing them again, there was part of it was like Harrison Ford dying.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but you can't do that. I understand why you couldn't have done that. But I just think they're missing that staple villain to really drive the movie forward in a lot of these movies. And I just feel like we haven't got that. That's just from my perspective.
No, I completely agree. They have had a villain problem in the past. I think, hopefully this is the last time we're saying that, though, because I have a little theory where, like, I think Bucky and Yelena might be the only two people to walk out of this next movie. Because, like, I think, those are the two actors who are, like, really pulling people, but I think those characters.
I see Red Guardian getting a really good send off, and like it's like, what are you?
I think he's a given.
Yeah, and I'm like, what do you do with John Walker post this, right? So
Nothing.
It depends on what route they want to go, and Thunderbolts is such an interesting movie because you don't really know what the pivot point is after this. So, like, I have no idea what, like, a post-cred, I have no idea how the movie's going to end. I just hope it doesn't end that route where I'm like, Sentry just gets talked down and he gets, like, put in prison or something, being this all-time powerful fucking character.
Yeah.
Like, they need to really...
I'm hoping, like, I'm hoping they're not going to do some MCU shit where, like, we talked about this a little bit in the chat, like, where they bring up the MCU void from Loki and from Deadpool and Wolverine, and, like, make that have something to do with the Void.
No.
Where, like, I don't know. I don't even know where I'd begin with how I'd make that a plot point. But, like, I hope they don't do that. But I think, like, I'm just sitting here praying that they are, like, gonna make this for real. Like, it's time to, like, for these villains. I don't know, like, whether he's gonna, like, I don't know where Sentry fits in the future.
Right.
So I don't know, like, how that would work so close to Doomsday. But I'm really hoping they keep him alive. I hope he wins.
I'm having my hopes high for what they're doing with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, but that's just kind of my...
We know Galactus is on business.
Yeah, so that's just kind of been my problem, because I feel like after this movie, the stakes are going to get to 10 in Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. So that was kind of like, just kind of briefly talking about this ending phase. I feel like we're hitting a turning point right now, and I feel like that's kind of what the phase was lacking outside of the Higher Evolutionary Guardians 3. It's just like the villains have just been so hit or miss. It's either they just get talked down at the end or have a change of heart, or they're just not good, or they just aren't fleshed out enough.
Yeah.
So it's just, I feel like that's kind of the theme with this movie, and why one of the problems I had with it is just kind of like, it's the Hulk, a different situation from the other movies I named, but it's just like, it's tough because when you have a character so strong and so powerful going, kind of what we're going to see in Thunderbolts, going against kind of characters out of their league, it's just like, how do you go about this? How do you not make it to where you're nerfing the villain so much? It's just so much. Because I feel like, in a way, Ultron was a little bit nerfed from what he can be able to do in the comics and stuff like that, compared to like how he did end up going out in the way he did.
Yeah.
But that was just kind of all the bad I really had about this movie. I didn't want to really go into like the reshoots, because you saw the reshoots everywhere.
Yeah,
like it happens. So like, you're going into it, when you adjust your mind and you go into it with the expectations of, I know there's going to be reshoots, but it still ended up being a 7.8 for me. Um, I'm interested to see, because you said you're going to be looking for a little bit more of the bad in a rewatch. So I'm interested to see if I do the same in a rewatch and if it adjusts my score at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, overall, I think I spoke on a lot of the issues I had with it. A lot of like the plot stuff with mainly the leader and President Ross. But yeah, I liked most of it. I hate the discourse that the movie is going through, but I think that's going to make it sell really well. So overall, not too bad. Not too
I
bad.
think it's probably the MCU movie that I've seen get way too much hate.
Yeah.
Way too much hate.
Yeah.
But like I said, I gave it a 7.8. Kind of touched on some of the stuff with Thunderbolts as well going into the future, and what they're going to do to pivot off of this. But I had fun with this.
Yeah, I definitely had fun with that. I'm looking forward to, especially where Anthony Mackie takes his character, where he goes next. Does he lead the next Avengers?
Right.
I hope so.
But you want to wrap it up there?
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Barrels Talk Podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.